And hello, everyone. How you doing? It's Dave Bondy, bringing you continuing coverage on a story that I had on Sunday. It's one of the most viewed stories I've ever had here on Locals, and something I'd like to continue investigating. Many stories in the media get passed by, or the media does like a minute or a minute 30 on a story and they forget about it. Well, I don't want to forget about this story. It's the situation in Sandusky, Michigan, where a mom says that a man grabbed her 8-year-old girl into a bathroom, and it was a total stranger. That man was charged, Andrew Hakeem Jewell, only with a misdemeanor, though. So that was shocking in itself. And then I learned that the suspect was accused of doing the same thing about a year ago, maybe more than a year ago. And that's why I want to bring in Sylvia. Hello.
Hi.
So this is where you come in, and I'm going to try to update people because new people might be joining who don't know the story. So this incident happened in Sanilac County, Michigan. This mother is in the store with her 2 children. She looks up to get a toy or do something. Her children are right next to her, like a couple feet away. And then this dude allegedly grabs the child, drags the child in the bathroom. And fortunately, the mom was there. The child's okay physically, not mentally. A lot of people don't talk about that, but not mentally. And they made the arrest. And then I think the mom shared it on social media. Is that how you found out about it?
Yes.
And then What, for those who don't know, that is a horrible story, but almost the same exact thing, similar, happened to your child?
Yes. About a year and a half ago. It was February of 2022.
Okay. You were at a movie theater.
I was not. Their grandma took them on a Friday evening to the movies. It was my son and daughter, and she wanted to take them to the movie. So I was not present when it happened. I got there as quick as I could when I got the call.
Okay. What did happen?
So and on video footage, this is all on footage that the movie theater has. So they're at the movie theater. There is a lobby at the movie theater, and that's where grandma waited because both of them had to go to the bathroom before the movie. They didn't want to interrupt the movie, So across from each other in the hallway, right by that lobby, the lounge area, is a women's restroom, and across the hall is the male. There's a bench right outside the women's restroom that he was sitting on. He was just sitting there. He was not in the movies alone. He was sitting there alone. So my daughter walked in to use the restroom, and she noticed somebody walked in and went right in the stall next to her. And the person in the stall, she noted, she even said, she thought in her head, those look like boy shoes. But sometimes, there's tomboys, maybe a girl's wearing boy shoes, but they weren't sitting down. They were just standing in the stall next to her. She could see their feet. And she came out, washed her hands, and she said she just kind of glanced up in the mirror and she could see a red hoodie around his face. So she didn't even know really boy, girl, what was going on at that time. He washed his hands next to her. And when she went to turn to grab the towels to dry her hands, he came up behind her with one arm choking her, pulling her. And the other one, he had his sleeve over his hand, muffling her scream so nobody could hear her screaming. And then she started fighting him off and pushing and scuffling, and he got scared. He ran out. There's an exit door right there as well, and a movie theater door. So they didn't know where he went. They thought he could have ran out the exit or he's still in the building. And she ran to the lounge to tell grandma.
Wow. Yeah. How old at the time was she? How old?
10. 10
years old. This hits home. I have a 10-year-old, and I'm just, wow. So I would imagine the police came, they searched for him, or what happened?
So there was a big scuffle. So immediately the security guard that works at the theater got the information. They checked the cameras immediately before the police could even come. They were called, but they were checking the cameras, and they seen he ran into the theater, and they yanked him out of there and made him sit there until the police got there.
Oh.
He kept denying it. He said she was lying. And then he said he only went in the women's bathroom to wash his hands really quick. He said he didn't know he was in the women's bathroom. And they knew immediately by watching the camera footage, he was facing the men's room. He waited. He was waiting for the next child, female probably, to walk in there.
And he was did they put him in handcuffs right away and take him away?
Nope. So I drove way over the speed limit from Bay City down Bay Road to get to the mall, and I was shaking, and I heard so that I've never shared my story because there has been a lot of you shoulda, coulda, woulda, or I would have, and just judgment, and I kind of shied off from it. I didn't want to.
You're not to blame.
Yeah, but I will say, in a parent, I'm a licensed gun carrier, and I had it, and I was shaking, and I thought I would do a prison sentence much longer than him and scar my children. I just gathered my thoughts and ran inside. Another thing that I thought was very strange was the father wasn't at the movie theater with him. He arrived at the scene though way before I did. So
this man's father.
Yeah, he was there remarkably quick. Yep.
Okay, weird. Okay, so his name is, at the time he was 18, Andrew Hakeem Jewell. That's his name. I can say it because was he convicted in this case, or was it a plea bargain, or do we know?
He pled guilty.
Pled guilty to a misdemeanor, like assault and battery, I think.
Yes.
Okay, yes. I remember watching the story. Channel 12 covered the story. Terry Camp, very good reporter, and yes. The prosecutor said at the time that because that's all they could probably charge, or that's probably the only charge they could get a conviction on. Is that why they said they didn't? Like, to me, that's kidnapping. When you grab someone to hold them against their will, to me, a layman, that's kidnapping.
I said that from the very beginning. It was kidnapping. I thought he was trying to kidnap her, and Lord knows what other things he was trying to carry out. And we obviously don't know.
Did they ever explain to you? Did they explain to you why they didn't charge it with? Okay.
No. So here's the thing too. He wasn't arrested that night, and we couldn't figure out why. It devastated my daughter. It made her look like she was a liar. She was so confused. He did something like that, you get in trouble, right? That's what we teach our kids. And so I thought, well, maybe the jail is full. I don't get it. So when I met with Detective North 3 days later, I asked him, I said, was your jail full? Why couldn't you arrest him that night? He said, no, because with the governor's laws for COVID, we can only arrest DUIs, felony warrants, and domestic dispute. Now I thought that's a domestic, but I think what he meant by domestic dispute is two people living in the same home, let's say, where that kid was separated, Macy separated from the gentleman.
2020. What year was this happened?
2022, February of 2022, and that law was still in place for all of our jails.
And we were still in those restrictions, and wow, I never knew that.
Yeah. Wow. So that is why they couldn't arrest him.
Wow. Okay. Yep. So he is, and I looked in the court records. He had moved a lot from when he was in courts, so he was sentenced or pled guilty. He got 2 years probation, 90 days on a tether.
6 months on a tether, GPS tracking. 6 months. 2 years probation. Yeah.
Okay, 2 years probation. So at the time of this incident in Sandusky, he was still on probation.
Correct.
Do they, being the victim, because you're a victim as well, do they let you know when he's moving, when he's going about and about, or you don't know anything about him?
I know nothing. Nothing.
And he's not on the sex offender registry because there is no charges of that.
Well, right. The way our system works, you have to carry out the awful deed in order to be tracked.
Wow. Okay. So you saw this post and about this, and is that how you saw it? That it's Sydney, right? Sydney Kitchen.
Correct. That's her name. Old friend of mine. a friend of mine that, so I'm friends with her on Facebook. We went to high school together. She saw it and tagged me. She knew right away, like, oh my God, this just happened a year and a half ago.
Did your heart just drop?
Yeah, we were on our way home from a awesome day up north, and we were in the car, and my heart just dropped when I opened that and saw that in my phone. Yeah.
Because you said in the interview with Channel 12, I think you said something like, this could happen again, or I hope it doesn't happen again. And boom, here we are.
So, and to say that about someone, you can't say that about everybody, but after watching what I've seen of him 3 times now, I've seen him 3 times, he has no remorse, and he's going to absolutely do it again. And he's going to do it again. This needs to stop.
I know they said he's mentally ill. If that is the fact, he needs help. And if he's a danger to the community, the street is probably not a place to get help.
Right. And, you know, that's another thing why I haven't come out and talks and, you know, people's opinions, right? We all have an opinion, right? As the mental illness thing. Well, you know, we all have a little something, and, you know, he is treated on meds. Here's the thing. It was premeditated. Judge A.T. Frank out of Saginaw that held his case watched the video. It is 100% premeditated. And then to say they're lying. I just went in there to wash my hands. The way he says it, 1, there's no remorse, and 2, he knows right from wrong because he knows what he's going to say after. And so even mental illness or not, you know right from wrong.
Right. And now I'm not on television anymore. I don't work in the media, so I am still, you know, I'm ethical, but I can give a little opinion or a little thought into this. Even if someone is mentally ill and goes and shoots up a building or goes and sexually assaults someone, they still need to be held accountable for that crime.
Absolutely. And you take this one person with a mental illness, right? And they're out there. What do you think it's doing to these 2 little girls? What are they now suffering from? It's spreading like a virus, you know?
And I don't like how the media does say the girl wasn't harmed. Well, actually, mentally, yes.
I did not appreciate that either. And they also said a teenager. Yeah, he's 18 though. He's a man now. He's a man now. Yeah.
So I want to play just a little bit of my interview. And this is in 25 years, I actually teared up during this because I'm a parent of a 10-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy. And let me play a little bit of this right here, and let me know if you can hear it. Let me see if I get this. I'm going to play a little bit, but
kill some time.
Can you hear this okay?
Yes. I was there with my daughter, Aurora, who is 8, and my son, Jimmy, who is 6. We went into the store. It's very small. It's just like a very small building. There's not really a whole lot to it. My kids were looking at the toys, which are located right in front of the bathroom door. And I was no less than 10 feet away from them. You know, if you want to equate it to when you go grocery shopping and you look at the bread on the shelf and you pull the bread down, that's how long I looked away from my kids. And my son just screams out, "Mom, someone's dragging Aurora into the bathroom." Sorry.
No, my God. And you were there with who? Your mom or no?
No, I was just me, my son, and my daughter. And my son yells, "Mom, someone's dragging Aurora into the bathroom." And so I look up and I see her. The door to the bathroom, for reference, opens inward. So I cannot see the man behind the door. I see my daughter with this look on her face as she's struggling to get away from someone. And I see her being yanked. And so I yell and run over there. And he lets her go. She runs to me. And he instantly is opening the door. He comes out and is right in my face saying, "She's lying. She's lying."
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. Same exact thing about he's accusing her of lying.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
Same thing.
so when you that night you saw that, did you see that interview I did? You saw that interview I did with her?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
I was in tears. My wife was
I tell you,
upstairs watching.
it reopened an old wound. Not very old, not quite scabbed over, but it reopened. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you two talked since then? Since this?
We have talked a little bit, but she doesn't even know this whole story that I've been trying to get out on what we went through with the courts yet.
That's another
So,
deal. And I feel horrible now because she was brave enough to speak up, and she by speaking up and you by speaking up, I have 700,000 people who follow me on social media, and I've had so many people message me and say, I'm going to teach my kid, I'm going to remind my kid what to do if this happens, or I'm going to keep my kid closer, or I'm going to try to fight to help her. People called, I believe, the courthouse, the prosecutor, to try to help. So I know
good.
she's taking criticism online now, but
Yep.
I credit her for being strong as she can. And even you, I don't understand why anyone would criticize either of you when you are all the victims.
Well, one thing, and it's part of what I want to know on, one of the comments we got was, well, why wouldn't the grandma gone in the bathroom with her? Here's
How would the
why.
grandma know what's
Because
going on?
she had my son there too. They were both going at the same time. She's sitting right there. What she did wasn't any different than what I would have done. And you know how much guilt she has suffered from? So this doesn't even just affect my daughter. It has affected my other daughter, my son, their grandma, me, very heavily. So she felt terrible.
That's stupid. I deal with online trolls, and these are people who are, I couldn't say if it was on TV, but losers. So now she's battling. She's actually getting some criticism because it's a small town, a really small town, smaller than where you live and where I live. And I wanted to know why they didn't charge the guy with kidnapping in this instance. And the prosecutor hasn't gotten back with me. And there might be a legal reason why, but it's just frustrating. What words would you have for her? Because I think I don't know if she's second guessing, speaking out, but I think she's brave, and I think she could be saving lives by doing it. What do you have to say to her?
Well, what I have to say is the ratio of the negative comments doesn't even compare to all the positive support, and it's worth it. And you're going to learn, your skin's going to get thick, and you're going to learn that you give 0 Fs about their opinion. The opinion's like everybody's got one, right? We all have an opinion. We just ignore it.
Exactly. And I think you and her, for example, my wife got our 2 kids, sat them down. Okay, if this happens, this happened. And like your daughter fought off, right? She was fighting off the guy. And in this situation, they spoke up. Her son actually confronted and said what happened. So I think by putting this out there, it's helping. But also, and let me ask you, is it helping putting pressure on the courts and law enforcement to let people know when these things happen?
So I got a lot of coverage. I wish there was a couple things I would have done different, like tell this whole story, because I have a whole timeline here. There's so much more. I wish I would have made it more public. My daughter is shy, and she's of all the things that has affected her, there's one of them is the attention that this brought, and she doesn't really like it. So I kind of backed off for her sake.
I get it.
But this happened again, and now I'm back, and now I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving until we can get this court under pressure. People need to show up on the day of the court date. They need to show up, and they need to see this.
I'll just use your first name. Even though your name's out there, I'll just use your first name when I put anything out. How important is it for people to show up to the court? I mean, it would make me feel good if there was support right there.
A part of me feels like if we would have done that with my daughter, maybe we could have pushed for a harder sentence. Maybe we could have got kidnapping. it wasn't a very long sentence, but I will say what he did get sentenced with, I knew right away it was going to break. It was just a matter of time. There's just no doubt in my mind. Hands down, I knew.
So hopefully now with breaking probation, I would hope to God, if he is, well, I was going to say if convicted, but when you're on probation, I don't think you're allowed to have any encounters, even if you're not guilty. I mean, you're not allowed to. This is a violation, I'm assuming, of probation.
Right. The problem is for a violation of probation, what is that, 90 days served? What is that? Because he's going to do it again. So then what after that? Then what? We don't know.
So
that's
last
the scary
thing
part.
I want to ask you, what do you learn about the court system that you didn't know before all this happened? I've covered courts for 25 years, and I've learned it's political. Things move slow. What have you learned?
Well, I've learned it is very political, even from the start of he should have been arrested that night. There was still COVID laws in place for our jails for predators to not be arrested and roam free after, and it's a predator against a minor at that. Again, when you're making a law, COVID or not, why aren't our minors protected at all times? That's always top shelf to me. Top shelf. Yeah, DUIs are bad. I'm not going to say they're not, but I'm sorry, our children are more important right now. Another issue we had was they kind of treated my daughter as if she was adult. It didn't feel like they understood that she was 10 years old. They made it so she had to come to court. So we had to go to court twice. She saw him both times. She had to see him again twice. I called for so many months between the prosecutor and the victim advocate of Saginaw, and I asked for the guardian ad litem. And if you don't know what that is, it is a representative that sits on a minor's behalf in court. They wouldn't give it to me. Nope, she has to be there. So get this.
She was 10 years
10.
old. That's a minor.
So I fought, I argued. They just, no. So I said, well, it looks like you have to come with me. So we go to his arraignment. Guess what? He walks in Saginaw County with us through the metal detectors. He is with us. We are standing right next to him. I stopped her. We had to go up the elevator to the courtroom. I stopped her. I said, we're waiting. We let the elevator go up. We could have rode in the elevator with him up. Yeah. That was for his arraignment. It was very quick. He pled guilty, and we had to wait for the next date. So with the next date, she had to come back again. Sure enough, same Pee Wee Herman gray suit with the tennis shoes. Here he comes. Walks right in through the metal detectors with us. He's right there. She had to face him again.
How many instances like this? It would have been easy for her to say, Mom, I'm refusing to go. She is a brave girl. She's brave because she could have said, I'm done. I'm not going. And then he may have gotten off.
She didn't want to do it. I had her back.
I don't blame her. I don't blame her.
In fact, I said, don't look at him. And I held her arm and I said, don't look at him. Don't look at him. That's all I could do because the court wasn't there to represent her. Now get this. She had to be there even though we went to Can Counsel for an audio video interview and she gave a very precise written statement, very detailed written statement. And she still had to be there twice to see him.
How is she doing now? Is she
so there's still anxiety. She's only been to the movie theater once, and there was an anxiety attack that she was with a friend and her parents, and she was texting me because she had a stomach ache and started getting hot and panicky, and she couldn't go to the bathroom to help this anxiety attack because the anxiety attack happened in the attack happened in the bathroom. So public restrooms she absolutely hates. She had nightmares for a very long time. The big thing for parents out there, and especially Sydney, because we're in this boat together, is to watch out for this victim's advocate and prosecutor that doesn't help you with your guardian ad litem that I thought by law we were allowed to have for a minor, a representative for a minor, so they don't have to face their predator. I'm scared for Sydney and her daughter for that part. It's something I have not been able to talk to her about yet. That might happen.
Give her a call, give her a message, and hopefully the attention. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to talk to you. So what good can, first of all, I don't like it anymore, and I'm going to call it out when the media says the child was not injured. Yes, the child was mentally, that's almost worse than being physically, it's the media should not say because hurt. She was hurt. Both girls were hurt. Yeah.
I mean, she was choked. She was literally choking. So yeah, she was hurt. She was absolutely hurt.
Physically and mentally. Wow. What advice do you have for the average parent? Because you never thought this would happen to you. Sydney never thought this would happen to her. She had prepared those. She told her kids. For the average person watching, what do you tell people, parents, like someone like me? I have a 10-year-old girl and I'm freaked out.
Well, I had also prepared all my children prior to this because there is monsters out there. And they have to know that we're not always going to be there. We might be 10 feet away or we might not even be there. And you better fight like crap. You need to fight. You need to scream. You don't let anybody touch you. You don't go with anybody. I don't care if they say, hey, I'm your mom's friend. Nobody, no.
And it can happen. I think a lot of people think because they're in smaller towns, Saginaw County, Michigan, it's not a big, it can happen anywhere.
Yeah. It seems to me that it's getting worse. And I think it has to do with our lenient punishment on these predators. It's very lenient.
And they know that.
I mean, you can look at, let's say, a drug charge against somebody. They're going to do like 20 years, right? A pedophile, I've seen them do 3. With my schooling, I've taken a criminal justice class. I've had to sit in the court. I've literally seen that where a cocaine charge was this kid got like 20 years, and a gentleman that raped his daughter's friend, and when she was staying at his house, he got 3 years. 3. So I already knew that that we don't have the right laws in place for our children. We don't.
Or they're not being enforced.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely not.
Okay. Well, so yeah, I'm glad that you two were able to get together, and I'm glad people were tagging me in it because I dug into this, and it's one reason why I left my job. I want to try to make a difference, and bringing light of something like this, maybe the courts, the prosecutors will realize if we don't do the right thing, maybe we'll end up, on the next viral social media. And I know the prosecutor, I wish she would call me back because I'm very open and fair. And I say the man who did this in the case in Sandusky, innocent till proven guilty. And I have to say that because I'm a journalist. In your situation, guilty. But yeah, so I just wanted to let you know. Any closing words? And I know you two talk, Sydney and yourself, and that'll be good for her as well. But I just tried to get across to her how brave she was, her children, that it was, I'm proud of her and her kids.
Absolutely 100% proud of her. When she reached out to me, she was, I could tell, worried in her initial message that, like, I'm sorry if I'm opening an old wound and I don't know if you can help me. And I felt that hopelessness all over again that she's feeling. You feel so hopeless. It's like when your child's sick and you can't do anything about it to help them, it's the same feeling. Like you can't even control it. And it all happens so fast. I just want to say, I do have a closing statement, and I want to say that whoever views this, please back Sydney this time. Please come out. I think she made a group. I believe it's called It Takes a Village. And I think it's for this reason. I want, when that court date comes, we don't know when it is yet, and we might not find out for a little while. I want people to show up. I don't care if you make a picket sign or if you just come there and stand with your hands in your pocket. We want people. We want Andrew to be shown as, you know, kind of the beginning of the steps that our laws need reform for our children.
Yeah.
It's going to start now. I want people that are fed up with this, because her and I aren't the only ones. There's so many people that have had traumatic things happen to their children and have not seen much justice. And it's time
And
to fight back.
It could be me. It could be anyone. It could be the next. You never thought it would be you. Sydney never thought it would be her. It could be the random person in Tuscola County and Genesee, wherever. It could be anyone at any time.
Yep. Well, Sydney knows I'll be there, and I want everybody else there too, please.
Cool. Thank you so much. I'm going to send you a message in a little bit, and just I appreciate you and thank you so much.
Yes, not a problem. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye. Wow, amazing woman again right there. Truly just, yeah, Sylvia. Wow. Once again, continuing to cover this story, and I am going to see it all the way through to the end, keeping it real. And thank you everyone for joining me. I really appreciate all of you for being here. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.